this is quite an interesting question because the whole thing depends on what triggers off my inspiration. So, to give you an example, when I wrote my book, The Soul Bearers, when I was inspired to write that book, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and we touched briefly upon the time when his partner died of AIDS. And he said to me that a couple of days after his partner passed on, he was looking for a sign because they had agreed that somehow if Ron could do it, Ron was going to send a sign to my friend. And one day, a few days later, he was standing in his lounge room. He had the doors wide open, which gave out onto a garden. And suddenly he saw a butterfly, and this butterfly flew into the lounge room, flew a couple of times around my friend, and then flew back out. And my friend was overcome with this deep feeling of peace, and he knew that that was the sign that that Ron sent to him. And just by my friend telling me that, I built the whole novel of The Soul Bearers, and the characters came after. So the characters came after the actual novel. So I started to think of the plot. Then, if I look at novels like The Other Boyfriend, my romantic comedy, that's loosely based on my own experiences when I was living in Asia, but that's all character driven, of course, because it was based on certain experiences that I went through. And the same thing with my other romantic comedy, like Casablanca. Now, with my latest book, which is Mia Ferrari, that was basically more driven by the environment or the plot, something that happened in the past. In fact, well, to cut a long story short, my freelancing work takes me into a hotel group. I do human resources there, and of course, hotels are renowned for, having lots of suicides and that sort of thing. Not because the food is bad, but because people tend to go to hotels to commit suicide. This is a well-known fact. They don't want to commit suicide at home or somewhere where a loved one will be traumatized. So they usually go to a hotel. Now, again, years ago, there was a person that I used to know who was actually murdered, and I didn't know this person very well, but I knew her through a friend of my ex-partner, so it's many times removed. But the whole story was born out of the hotel environment and people committing suicide in hotel environments, and then the plot followed after that. So I guess to answer your question, in my case, it's a little bit of both. Sometimes I sit down and focus on the character, and sometimes I actually focus more on the plot.